The Inside Sleeve with Robbie Buck on RN.
Well, it's a great pleasure to welcome onto your airwaves somebody who's had quite a long association with Australian music, going back to the mid-70s. Lead singer of the Saints and a solo artist in his own right, Chris Bailey. Hello.
Hello, Robbie. Very nice to be here in the warm and loving bosom of Auntie.
It's nice to have you back. A lot to talk to you about because, as I mentioned, it's getting on to a few decades since you and your mates started that little band in the suburbs of Brisbane.
A few weeks, yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a little listen to some music and then come back and have a good, decent chat.
Okay, well, on Peter's insistence, I'm in another key going to play quite an old tune, but I'll try and give it a bit of a spark just for Peter. We all take a drink from the cup, and she politely knocks it over. I say, I think that I've had enough. She goes, no, no, this is not over. Because there is no innocence or beauty in the things that I've seen in your face. So, well, let's pretend. I got up to take a walk across the floor, but my feet, they do not hold me. She said you should never have come into this bar, and I said no, I may never have come in, because I had been sold down the river too. Yes, somebody sold me, and it could have been you, Lord. So every day the time slips away, there is nothing I can control it. These eyes of mine don't see the sense in trying to control it. Because every time that you stand up, you're bound to fall. And then you know sometimes we just pretend, Lord. Have you ever seen a blind man as he stumbles and falls? Me, I'm just like a blind man. I say my hands are tied and I can't see anymore. Because every time that you stand up, you're bound to fall. And sometimes you only, will you just pretend, Lord? So we all take a drink from the cup, and she politely knocks it over. I say, I think that I've had enough. She goes, no, no, this is not over. Because there is no innocence
Very nicely done. Lead singer of the Saints, Chris Bailey, performing live for you today, and Let's Pretend, the name of that song. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Australia? Because you have, for a long time, been based in Europe, and I wonder, you return regularly, but I wonder how you view your place in Australia and Australian music.
Well, I must admit, over the years, remember, I'm a son of immigrants.
Yep.
So to me, Australia was a great, big, open, fabulous playground.
Because you
When I
came
came here as a boy.
You came from Belfast, didn't you?
Yeah. And so talk about one extreme to the other. And as I've aged gracelessly, I can even look back fondly on Brisbane because to me, in my mind's eye vision, I know this is not reality, but it's like I grew up in a 1950s American B-grade black and white movie. Because whenever I think back to Brisbane, that's what it looks like. And of course now I know it's a subtropical, sort of largely Asian, and that's for the better, kind of very colourful retirement village. It's nice.
That said, in 1976, when you were forming the Saints, it was at the height of Bjelke Petersen's Queensland, which was a very politically quite a different place to where it is now.
Well,
Wasn't it?
hence the imagery of the deep south.
Yeah.
Because Queensland was considered to be the deep north, and it's really weird. I mean, I've read a lot of myth and bollocks about how difficult it was, and once again, it's all relative. But when I think back, I kind of think that semi-repressed atmosphere, it's a perfect breeding ground for like those who wish to rebel. Because if you lived in utopia, what would be the point of kicking against the pricks?
Well, it's a very good point. And I mean, do you think that the Saints would have come up with a song like "I'm Stranded" at the time that they did if you had have lived in Melbourne or Sydney?
I doubt it. In fact, I'm not an academic. I don't know. I haven't really pondered this, but most musical revolutions do happen in really the unexpected places. The famous Beatles didn't come from Chelsea; they came from Liverpool. Okay, the Rolling Stones came from Richmond, but for every rule, there's a contradiction. But I mean, if you live in the centre of the scene, you tend to conform to a certain pattern or style. Whereas if you're a hillbilly, you kind of just make up your own rules as you go along. And, if you think about the early Saints, if we had have gone to EMI in Sydney or whoever it was in Melbourne, they would have told us to piss off because we weren't particularly what was actually being cultivated at the time.
No, quite the opposite. And it was one of those great moments in history when, quite via luck, he got picked up in London.
Yeah,
predated the Sex Pistols with a song like that, and of course,
and then got labelled as punk rock, which is that's all she wrote.
Yeah,
it's just all been crap since then.
Yeah, but of course that experience must have been a combination of thrilling and completely disillusioning to end up in a place like London in 1977.
It's more bizarre. I mean, to look back, it actually is astonishing to actually be these. Four hillbillies who get bus tickets to go to the West End, and looking back, I should have been more excited. It should have just been wow, but it just seemed really ordinary. It's really bizarre.
That said, you continued to pursue music at that period, and I guess it's almost a miracle that you did continue to put out albums in those circumstances.
Well, I mean, one of the best things that's ever happened to me, I guess, was the early band imploding, because that left me with a really stark choice.
This is after the third album, Prehistoric Sounds.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it had imploded before that, because I think I was going to go off and run a pub in Cornwall or some bollocks. But it became really obvious that EMI wouldn't make the third record without me, so I kind of thought, well, I have certain loyalty to my colleagues. But it was pretty obvious that we weren't going anywhere, because Ed and Ivor wanted to move back here and I wanted to stay up north. So we did that third record knowing that nothing was going to happen, because management had buggered off. Anyway, and when Ivor and Ed left, I had probably one of the best years of my life, my down and out in Paris and London. And I had to make the decision, do you want to stay in show business? Because I don't like show business very much. However, it's better than working in a meat factory. Though it's actually very similar to working in a meat factory now that I think about it. And so I decided that I don't care about becoming a girly pop star. But by that stage, I was quite addicted to making records, and I discovered that I'm not that bad at making up tunes. And then I got really lucky. I sort of bummed around, sleeping on people's floors, sleeping in parks, sleeping in cinemas, usually porn cinemas because they stay open all night. And so when it was kind of unfashionable, maybe it was fashionable to be independent, I don't know. But we just had a great time of it, just doing everything wrong. And, the Saints have never been that famous, but we've been really lucky to carve out a niche in the oddest of places around the planet, which segues neatly back into my relationship with Oz. I was saying to Pete in the taxi coming here...
This is your drummer.
This is Pete, my boss, the drummer, producer drummer, manager drummer, boss. I would feel a loss if I didn't still maintain some connection to Oz, even though it is funny coming through customs when I kind of hand over my passport and I get the occasional...
Is your passport Australian?
No, I don't have residency here. So every time I come out, I have to get a work permit. And so I kind of rock up with my passport and my work permits. And, Jesus, mate, didn't realise he's a bloody foreigner. Jesus. Anyway.
Chris Bailey from the Saints is with me today. Take us through the pivot that you had to make at that time when that original core membership of the Saints, as you said, imploded, and you needed to take charge of the reins as a songwriter musically. What has that trajectory been like for you?
It's been like a busman's holiday. It means I can play around and do whatever I want. Because when the early band split up, I decided that the era of it's all the four lads in the bus together, jollily making their way to the top, that was a bygone era. So I'd kind of come to terms with, I want to be in a rock band, and I like the dynamics of a rock band, but the practicalities of a rock band are really friggin' tedious. They're just... and technology was developing to a point where, without sounding like a wanker, you could actually do a lot of stuff yourself, to yourself, with yourself.
Is this...
And so I was finding myself becoming increasingly the little emperor of my own little empire. And I've, of course, gone full circle from that, where I now kind of, and this has been for decades, I do like the dynamic of a rock band and real people. Technology is all good and fine, but there's nothing like the human touch.
Well, of course, many of us saw you in Brisbane several years ago, where that original lineup of the Saints came back together. And I'm wondering what the experience was like for you to be, I guess, wading through the mists of time up on a stage like that.
Well, I expect it's as close as I'm ever going to get to playing Doctor Who. And that was kind of interesting. And look, contrary to public rumour, I love Ivor. And he's, as Pete and I often discuss, he's both of our favourite drummers. And he's the only man on the planet that I can't not laugh instantly when I see him. And I can't explain why I'm laughing, I just do. And, Eddie, I like and I respect. And that Brizzy gig was probably a bit unexpected, but it was easy. It was fine. And even when we did the ATP thing, it was all fine.
This is all tomorrow's parties.
Yeah. And and I don't regret. I'm glad I did it, and it was fun. But it was very limited. It had very limited scope because you can only go so far by rehashing 3 records, and it's nostalgic and it's fun. But after that, it's pretty meaningless.
Well, that brings us to...
Because you can't put your arms around a mammary, apparently. Though I often try.
You might be able to. Well, you've continued to create music. As you say, you're addicted to the process of making music. I take it more so than the actual other side of it, the performance side of it. The process is
more... Yeah, I can take or leave that.
Yeah. What's that about in you? You must have thought about this.
I'll never be a great novelist, but I'm not that. Well, in my mind's eye, I think I'm not that disciplined. But despite my gregarious exterior, I'm actually quite a grouch, and I do like my own company. And the thing I like about songwriting is it's a fairly solitary task, and that's where I do spend a lot of time. And I think if that's all I did, it would be a bit depressing, really. So I'm very lucky I do have the other side, because I bang on about hating touring and stuff, but if truth be known, I actually love it. Give me a tour bus, give me a rock band, give me an itinerary, and I'm as happy as a pig in shit. And I'm still very nervous about performing.
After all these years?
Yeah, man. It's absurd, and intellectually I know I shouldn't be, but I kind of feel that if you're not, you're going to miss out on the whole thrill of it, because it is quite exciting to walk onto a proscenium, go totally blank, not know what to do, and all of a sudden it works. And when that process is over, you can get drunk. It's because you've done good, you know. So there is some kind of like lab rat joy to performance. But I mean, if that, I mean, I don't think I could ever just be an all-round entertainer. I'd find that pretty dull.
Mm. Well, it's not a laboratory that you're in today. It is a studio, but we might get you to perform one more song for us. Chris Bailey is with me today, lead singer of the Saints, and you have your guitar with you.
Yeah.
What would you like to play?
I don't know, actually. The Saints catalogue is enormous, and I don't know any of it.
Hey Ma, why can't I believe it? And yeah Ma, why must I stumble and fall in the night? Can you tell me what's wrong and what's right? Yeah man, yesterday I was a king, and man, I could do anything that I wanted. This world was mine, it was alright. But now everything I see is wrong, and I don't know why. Love is defeated and the world is gray. What does it take to be strong anyway? Who should I turn to and what could I say? If I thought I'd be answered, then I would pray.
Chris Bailey performing live in the studio for
Haven't
you.
done that one for a while.
Well done. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Terrific. You're, of course, in the country for some dates across the nation.
Yes,
You'll be
we are.
playing Friday night in Melbourne at the Corner Hotel.
Fabulous little bar.
Yeah, great pub. Next week, you're going to be playing in Perth at the Fly By Night, and then...
Which I'm really looking forward to, because Pete's never been to Perth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You can watch the sun go
And you're
down.
looking forward to it, aren't you, Pete?
He's nodding in the next room.
Because lots of people have been telling him exotic stories about what happens to batters in the wild and zany West.
Well, he'll find out for himself very soon.
He certainly shall.
And then in Sydney on the 8th of December at Home Bake.
Yeehaw.
It's been a great pleasure. Thanks so much, Chris Bailey.
Robbie, delight.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Lovely.
Why the fuck did I sing that?
You can do another one if you want.
No, it's all right. No, actually, I don't remember a chorus. So I just have to.
Do an extra song if we're happy to.
I mean, don't punish me.
No. You don't want it.
RN. Your world unfolding.